Hello!
Hello!
And welcome to The Classic Pod with Alex Maxted.
And Jonny Whiting, almost forgot my name there. And we're on episode...
5.
Good.
Got to be 5?
I know there's been so many that you can't count, can't keep up.
So many. I mean, 5, 27, 103. What's the difference?
Just numbers.
Numbers in an order.
I believe in the last episode you said this was our 5th anniversary.
I did. Thank you so much for bringing that up. Yeah, I did. Just in case people missed it. It was at the very end. Or was it at the very beginning?
It was the very end. And so happy birthday us.
Happy birthday.
If we mentioned 5...
5 years.
5 long years. This is the last one. We're retiring after this.
5 years for what you did. Is that Les Miserables?
That isn't... Javert.
I'm seeing Les Miserables next year. Well, okay, not next year. Next week. I'm seeing it next week with Samantha Barks as Fantine.
Oh, I thought you meant you're going with her.
No, imagine. Sammy and I, we're going to go watch it.
We thought we'd go and see the show she's meant to be in.
Yeah, she just wanted to remember.
Have you
Good
seen
times.
Have you seen it before?
Yeah. Like
you said the way you looked at me.
Yeah, I have. I've seen it twice.
Again?
I'm seeing it again because Samantha Barks for 1 week is playing Fantine.
Why just 1 week?
I don't know. It's like a kind of, casting that people are going to flock to see. The one thing I remember of her in the film is that her waist was the size of a grain of sand. It was like humanly impossible. I don't understand. But there we go.
Also, she was the only good one in the film.
Yeah, she was singing live. She was doing the Lord's work. Yeah, but hers actually sounded good. Yeah.
Well, that's what they say, because that was the really weird thing about that show, the production of that film, is that they were on set singing live with like the orchestra or like a pianist piped in, like through earpieces.
Is that right?
Yes. Which is why, like, what's his name? The main actor,
Hugh Jackman.
Hugh Jackman, who is genuinely a very good singer. You can go and see videos of him singing in Oklahoma and stuff. Yeah. But he also, for the role, he was, trying to be ripped.
Yeah.
And to get that on film, you just don't drink. You don't take any water for ages because it makes your body like sort of, there's no water fat or whatever. There's no, And so he was very dehydrated and having to sing this really hard role, to be fair. And I bet they probably had to do it in quite a few takes.
Yeah, I bet. All I remember with that film is him singing Bring Him Home and me certainly gripping the seat, hoping that it would all go well.
There's a, it's just on YouTube or whatever, and it's where they slowed him down.
Yeah.
And his vibrato is,
There's the guy as well on TikTok who does the impression. It's so good.
Oh, yes. Oh, it's brilliant. I mean, we won't even start about Russell Crowe, but this is not the Russell Crowe
podcast episode. Jonny, I was going to say we've tangented.
Only a little bit.
Only a little bit, and actually it does kind of link, maybe. Well, you never know.
I must say I'm very excited to hear this link.
Yes, exactly. Well, why don't you tell us what we're going to talk about today?
So today we're going to talk about musical or classical music idols, which when I suggested it as a theme, I meant it in quite a sort of a broad sense, because it's not just like, Maria Callas, or, it can be...
I mean, valid.
Of course, yeah. She's on the podcast next week, so look out for that.
I wish. Don't make me cry.
Just with me in the dark with a wig.
Seance. We have to do a seance episode. Yeah, that would be so funny.
Oh, there's so many people we could talk to.
The Victorian ghost in my room.
Okay, we're not going on to that. Yeah. That's something for another day. Musical idols. So not just like, Maria Callas, Pavarotti, whatever. But people, I think, as we were growing up, they're alive or dead, and not necessarily singers or like instrumentalists, but alive or dead who inspired us or just like got us interested in the world of classical music and sort of maybe continue to inspire us today.
Absolutely.
And they also could be things like music teachers. I was thinking this as well.
Really? Okay, yeah. So that kind of broadens because I have some thoughts just in general about musical idols. Yeah. Thinking of people who I kind of listened to growing up, some of the first people that I listened to.
Yeah.
But let's talk about it. Let's go into it. One of the musical idols that I thought of that was quite a big person who I listened to a lot and looked up to when I was learning the piano was Alicia Della Rocha. Mm-hmm. Do you know her recordings?
No, I did sound very confident, but I do not.
You were, nodding very, very enthusiastically. She is incredible, and she just has such... I feel like this is very much my taste in pianists. 100% my type on paper. She is very focused. She does every single movement is very much like kind of tailored to the sound that she wants to create. Everything has a meaning. You know, you're not kind of throwing your arms around and doing all sorts of things, acrobatics. She's very focused, and I always got the impression that she was quite a humble person, and she always played repertoire, I think, that suited her very well. She had great taste in what she did.
What sort of things did
Well,
she
she did a lot of Spanish repertoire, and so she did,
That makes
for
sense.
example, Goyescas, the full suite. She did the full Iberia, and she, I think, was sort of most famous for that because they're such kind of big works, and her recordings are kind of, for many people, the benchmark of the repertoire. But she's also very well known for her Mozart interpretations as well. She's done all the Mozart concerti, I think, or certainly many of them. And I just love her. And I remember, well, you were saying that we could talk about music teachers.
Yes,
and whoever,
absolutely.
but it was my teacher growing up who introduced me to her, and he had been to see her live, and he absolutely idolized her. And so I suppose I stole his obsession.
So did you like you just listened to her all the time?
Yeah, I listened all the time. I learned repertoire that she had played, that sort of thing, and I would. It always kind of inspired me, and I think she just has this like really crystalline, clean sound. And I also think that a lot of these idols have qualities that, you know, we can only dream of having, or you can only like you wish you could be like it. I think it's rare to have an idol with all the qualities that you already have.
Yeah, because you always want what you can't have.
You always want what you can't have. There we go.
And I think, but it's also you make them into this like. I mean, just literally say the word idol, make them into a goal or something.
Yeah,
I'd love to be like that.
Yeah.
But if it's also getting you into the repertoire as well, then you know that's a sort of a different angle. I realise I'm just like turning myself into a pretzel in this chair. I'm just wrapping myself,
Johnny. Whatever you want,
smaller and smaller.
Go for it. You're doing your circus act.
Myself with circulation. Yes, legs.
That too. Yeah.
Yes. Similarly, a lot of these, when I was thinking of who I would talk about, a lot of them were when I was growing up.
Yeah.
And I think because then they have become formative moments, or, you know, ways in or whatever. I definitely don't really have that now, but maybe it's because we're more into we're more into the industry. We might know people, we might know those people, or we might know people that know them, or know people that work with them. So I think there's less of that mystery.
That's very true. That's true.
But the one sort of moment I remember that got me into opera, and it must have been this point, because I was playing music before then.
Yeah.
It was like year 9 at school. So we would have been 14, I think. Music lesson, and we were doing opera, and specifically the Magic Flute, which is a good opera, I think, for kids.
Definitely is a great.
Crazy.
Yeah.
But big snake, you know, scary Queen of the Night.
Which production was it? Do you remember where it was?
The Royal Opera House.
The Royal Opera House, yeah.
Now, I think I may be wrong, but I believe this video is probably the most viewed video of the Royal Opera House. It's like YouTube.
I know the one that you're talking about.
And that is this is Diana Damrell's the Queen of the Night aria, the second one, the Hurrache.
Yeah.
And I remember we watched it in class, and it was like my whole world had opened. It was probably also like a gay awakening as well.
I see. Okay, yeah.
But I was just like blown away. I really liked Mozart. I was like, oh wow, this is like
a whole other level.
It's a bit camp.
Yeah, there is that element to it with the black dress.
Yes. It was just so exciting, and all the characters in the Magic Flute all just so like cartoony.
It's true.
And
it's true.
It didn't. The show itself doesn't take itself that well. Okay, that's probably not the right thing to say. Many productions don't take itself seriously when it shouldn't, but there obviously were these Masonic influences. Although I think the show doesn't take itself too much.
Well, one of the ideas we had to talk about in this episode was operas with crazy plots, and I feel like Magic Flute
is the best.
Johnny is a fan. Good. Yeah, it is great. Okay,
it's because you don't have to pay attention. To be fair, if you're trying to pay attention, you won't understand what's happening.
Yeah, I have one of my favorite operas is La Gioconda. That has a similar, like, 4 completely different acts with different plots. Crazy.
It doesn't
Sit back, relax, enjoy the music.
I think you just listen to music. You listen to the great German dialogue that's just shouted.
Yeah, Magic Flute wise, yes.
My favorite when I talk about the Magic Flute, plot is that they spend a long time telling Tamino, you're going to have to save Pamina, yeah, and it's a long journey. You're going to go through all these trials and tribulations. Here's Papageno, he's going to help you. Here's a magic flute that'll help you. Have a magic music box that'll help you on this great journey to find Pamina. They find her in the next scene.
That's so funny.
The next scene, she appears.
So
I'm like, oh, here she is.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, well, okay. Pacing where?
Well, exactly. Jeopardy gone. Yeah.
And,
But, yeah.
No, you go.
Some beautiful music there, and I mean, we all love Magic Flute, we all love Mozart. But would you say that Diana Damrau is somebody who you went on to listen to a lot, or was it specifically that context?
I'd say originally it was that context, though I think it opened that well to that sort of coloratura, like vocal fireworks, especially, and her Glitter and Be Gay from Bernstein's Candide is just is amazing because it goes because I mean Candide is one of those shows that can't decide if it's an opera or a musical, and so there's plenty of musical versions of it, like Kristen Chenoweth's. But Diana Damrau goes full on opera, and it's just like.
I love it. Have you seen her live?
No, not yet.
I've seen her once live at Wigmore Hall.
Okay.
Singing Spanish songs to go back to my idol. But I remember it was like around COVID times that she had a cold.
Oh no.
And she was kind of singing, and then in the moments where she wasn't singing, you could see her like battling for her life, going like really choking. And she had to apologize to the audience a couple of times, but she was fantastic. And I mean, she is just one of those artists. Was it you who I was talking to about the cult of the soprano?
Yes.
And you can kind of, there is nobody like this. Even if somebody sings a couple of lines in something, success varying.
I've got this.
And you come into the hall afterwards in your gown, and people fall to their knees and say, "Oh, bravo!"
you can whisper at the back of the orchestra as a soprano, and everyone will be bowing to
you. As long as you have long blonde hair, and a big dress.
It's just there is an energy that sopranos have, and I mean this before beyond all the other voice types, beyond conductors, beyond composers, beyond the violin that just played the 20-minute violin concerto.
Yes.
I won't say any names or places.
Yes, don't.
But I went to a festival in Europe. No, that's quite broad. I went to see. It was just a concert, and I think it was Mozart. There was a Mozart piano concerto, then there was a Mozart symphony, and then there was Exultate Jubilate, however you want to say it, which any soprano, even like learning soprano, that's in the rep. It's quite a standard
it's in lots of collections and anthologies, yes.
However, this soprano, who I will say I will describe as an international soprano. She gets around. That sounds awful. In which I mean concert halls.
Okay. She gets around and she's in concert halls. Okay.
She was not only on book, which I know fine, okay, but she was also just really like there was no like energy. It was very flat, not like pitch wise.
Yeah,
but
like the kind of lacking.
It felt like
spark.
It was very much beneath her.
Right, so it was kind of going through the motions of singing it rather than wanting to be there and having chosen the repertoire herself.
Yeah, and I think she went after the piano, and I think they did 23 at the A major, bum, 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 yeah. And he was brilliant, and I think he did an encore as well, and I think he was younger as well, and so there was this real like fire, and that's such a good piece.
Alicia Della Rocha recording, brilliant, guys.
You get it in everywhere.
You've got to.
That's why I have to keep talking because I need the space. You'll fit it in. And it just felt like, I feel like you think this is beneath you. And I know that they would have been paid an excellent fee because this place has money. This festival had money. And as I was there with press, they usually get invited to the like after show drinks, which was in the same venue but in their like sort of hall next to it. And I was in there, and slowly we saw members of the orchestra come in, and then we saw the conductor come in and was like, we saw the pianist come in and was like, and a few people clapped. When this soprano walked in, it was like Princess Diana had resurrected from the dead and had entered the room. Everyone was silent.
Okay.
She comes in,
So like a
but it was
collective gasp.
It was like awe.
Okay.
She wasn't. Oh, to be fair, she was in this beautiful, like silver, like sort of stoned dress,
As they often
which looked very expensive.
Yeah.
And then, like after this brief moment of awe, there was just this like raucous applause. I was like, "Hello." She mumbled her way through Exalte Jubilate, which is about a 3-minute piece, and we're like, "Woo!"
Was that so? That was the only thing she sang in the program.
Else.
And the pianist was, breaking his back. You know, trying
he did
to
an encore. She was like, she didn't even realise the piece had finished.
That's so funny. But I do often feel like, even if the soprano, for example, an example of this is like Mahler Resurrection, is the soprano part in that comes in right towards the end, and it's not the biggest part of the symphony.
No.
But it is such an incredibly beautiful part of the piece.
It's very important as the
and
whole
so if you sing that bit, that role, it is like, I can completely imagine, and I wonder whether a lot of composers had this as well, and that's why they write in this kind of way. I suppose it is the soaring, highest, often part of the melody.
I mean, we know this. We also know that composers, especially when it comes to opera, have written for specific people.
Yeah.
Specific, because they are celebrities.
Yeah.
And honestly, they are, in the past at least, and today, they have been divas, and they need a lot of, they demand a lot of things, but you give them what they need, they'll bring the people in.
Yeah.
People just come for these singers. So I do understand it.
No, it's very true. And actually, I was going to say I certainly have soprano, potentially diva, idols as well, people that I looked up to. A couple that sprung to my mind, like in this conversation, were, one of them is, she lived to 105 years old.
Wow.
Licia Albanese. Do you know her?
Do you want me to,
Pause.
Do you want me to lie?
No, never lie.
Go
never
ahead,
lie.
go ahead.
She, I think her dates were 1909 to 2014. Which, I mean, imagine living over
that's
that
a crazy
space of
time period.
I know, and she was growing up when Puccini was writing his operas. It's kind of incredible to have that background. And she was trained by sopranos who, were some of the first women to perform these like iconic roles in the repertoire. And whenever I listen to her recordings, I just think, they really don't make them like that anymore. They really don't, which is such an annoying thing to say.
I know, I didn't
And maybe
like
there's
that.
a reason, it is a really irritating thing to say, but she just was such a risk taker in her performances. And like, if you listen to her Madama Butterfly, she was famous for her scream. And so a lot, she would just scream in the middle of a performance. And there's, in The Death of Madama Butterfly, she's kind of... she just, in the guarda ben moment, she's like, guarda ben! It's like a moment, and you can imagine the poor child looking at her like, oh my God, what's happening? And it is such a kind of thrilling moment, and kind of she breaks down just sobbing and convulsing at one point. And there's also a recording that I saw on Reels quite recently, and it's her as a much older lady singing Santuzza in Cavalleria Rusticana, and it's with a piano. It's in private, and she does her iconic scream in the aria, and it is just, I got like full body chills. It was just incredible. Like, I wish, I'm sure there are people performing, taking these risks and doing something like that, but I just miss it.
I think that, again, this is another case of like, soprano exceptionalism.
Yeah.
I think she can get away with that. Why can't, an oboist just scream in the middle of a concert, or the pianist just start screaming during Rachmaninoff?
Well, because it's different, because... I mean, as a singer, you use your voice in a different way to a pianist, I think it's like using a whole other... Yeah.
Scream.
You think more screaming? Well, I mean, actually, I can get behind that, I suppose.
Classical music needs more screaming.
Classical music needs more screaming. It's, I mean, there are lots of... I feel like there are... Conductor, yeah.
Screaming.
I went to a performance where... I think it was Ligeti Violin Concerto.
Okay.
With Pat Kopp playing the violin, Patricia Kopechinskaya, and François Xavier Roth conducting. And in the cadenza, she started screaming, he started screaming, and the whole orchestra just started screaming.
That's part of it.
Because part of the cadenza is like improvised.
Yeah.
And it was just a moment where I think everyone was quite baffled, but it was amazing.
I think the audience have started screaming as well.
We really actually, you know what? That's probably what they were inviting us to do.
A collective scream, although if you were the only one screaming.
Maybe we did, I can't remember. But it was certainly an experience, and I just remember that it was quite like a thrilling moment. So maybe you're right, there needs to be more screaming in classical music. Yeah.
Keeps people on their toes, doesn't it?
It does keep people on their toes, yeah.
A screaming conductor, this is a little bit of a weird story because it's not direct, but it reminds me of a time I had to fire a conductor.
Okay, well, tell me more.
Were
you the one screaming, or was the conductor the one screaming?
We were screaming eventually. No, he wasn't screaming. So this is when I kind of, again, can't give too much details for these things, although people won't care. When I was at King's, I was the president of a medics orchestra, like an orchestra, because King's London has a massive, like, medics, like, loads of medic
Guy's
students.
campus, yeah.
There's like 3 hospitals with it. And so they had a specific orchestra that anyone could join it for, medic students that, have been in the wards all day. They can now go and play the tuba. They can go play their bassoon.
Yeah.
Relax. Great. It was unauditioned, so it was meant to be chill. You do things like dance macabre and, some like fun stuff.
Yeah.
Rimsky-Korsakov, whatever. And when I joined, they had a conductor who was like paid to come in. And when I first joined, he seemed very friendly, very fine. But he slowly fell out with the committee, and then I ended up being in the committee because he wanted more, but we couldn't afford it.
This was a conductor who got the job?
Yeah, he was like a freelance, was being like hired to come in. He wasn't a student.
Okay.
But he slowly started to fall out because he wanted more money, but this student society couldn't do that, whatever. But we're not sure why. He definitely didn't used to do it before. But we got to like 3rd year, and very much just like didn't want to be there. He was quite snappy during rehearsals. Not fair at all, actually. You can't be like that. But when it came to conducting, he was very...
Oh, really?
It felt like he was trying to blow up a balloon.
Oh, my goodness.
But this was in like... You think, oh, fine, when there's a massive crescendo and all the horns are going, you're not going to hear it. No, this was in like the pianissimo elements of the Elgar cello concerto. Funny. Can you sing the Elgar cello concerto?
I can't sing the Elgar.
You go... And we're just like, everyone's looking at each other being like, does he not know he's doing this? And we did it in one, there were 2 concerts. There was one... We could see the audience reacting to him. So
it was that obvious. It was
huffing and puffing and blow his house down is what he was doing.
And everyone covered in saliva.
Yes,
like wet
splash zone.
Yeah.
And eventually, we had to sort of very politely say, "Thank you very much."
How did that conversation go? So you sat down.
No,
can I be the conductor?
No, it was not in person. I broke up with him.
Did you like my performance?
It's like a breakup. No.
Would you like my Elgar? No, actually, I didn't.
We just got to a point where he said, I was it was handed to me basically because he asked to have more money, and I responded saying, "I'm so sorry, we can't do that."
That's the easiest way to fire someone, isn't it?
I mean, there was a nice end to this story.
Yeah, okay.
Because also another thing, he was coming in from afar, and I think when he started working for us or whatever, he was doing multiple gigs that day, and that this was the last of the day, then he'd go home. Those, I think, had stopped or had moved to different dates, so he was now just coming into London for this. I mean, that's so fair. But he should have stopped earlier than he did. But yeah, I basically got it handed to me. He wanted more, and I said, sorry, we can't do that. And he said, well, then I'm going to leave. And I said, obviously, thank you so much for all the time you've been with us.
Okay, so there was a kind of,
But it meant that I could, I would then push to have it as a student conductor after that.
I see. Okay, so then there was a happy ending in that it benefited the community around you in the end.
Yeah, and I mean, it was still paid and everything, but it was like, at least, because what was happening as well, I hope this becomes like a gossip podcast.
Yeah.
What was happening is he was starting to get a bit like catty with the players, and I'm like, this is not an auditioned orchestra. These people are here for fun. They're spending an hour and a half rehearsing, after a long day on wards or lectures or whatever, they don't need to be yelled at because their phrasing is funny on the clarinet in like bar 18.
You do have to. I think that's a very important thing with any kind of music group that you're in. You have to think about, what's the aim for people. What's the environment. But it reminded me, speaking of it being a gossip podcast, that there was. I'm interested to hear the name after we finish filming.
Yeah, okay.
Because there was quite a recent ill-fated show on in London, and one of the reasons why it kind of flopped in the end was this terrible conductor who was like spluttering and singing and breathing way too loudly and just
how
it was
recently?
such a very recently.
An opera. Or am I getting too specific?
You're getting too specific here.
Too specific
Yeah. But there we go. So maybe this conductor lives, breathes, and splutters. Splutters to live another day.
It's just I'm not been an instrumentalist for a long time. But there's something when you come together. There's an accepted level of professionalism, and I think that when you're all paid at a professional rate. You're going for a concert where people are coming and paying lots of money. You've got to come and know what you're doing, be ready, looked at the part so you can get ready and go. Fair. That's a high level of professionalism.
Yeah.
As an unauditioned orchestra, we were doing it for fun. It almost doesn't matter what it sounds like at the end.
Exactly,
I mean, obviously pick music that the orchestra can play. Also, when you're unauditioned orchestras don't have the full set. We had a saxophone playing this like all 6 horn parts. And she would, I remember I wrote a piece for this orchestra and I wrote her part and it just had horn in inverted commas. There was
At least you had a sense of humour about it.
10 flutes. So it's already just kooky and a bit all over the place. So it's just for fun. But then to have someone who's coming in almost expecting top level, like, why haven't you practiced? Why is this nice? Like, these people, they're not grade 8. They're not good at sight reading or whatever. So you have to be we're here to have fun.
Exactly. And also if you nitpick, then you spend the whole sessions and after the performance still nitpicking to try and get it to sound a certain way that it's not going to sound.
It's just and also some people just don't want to hear that.
It's true. But speaking of kind of people being a little bit difficult to work with, maybe conductors, maybe other people, and going back maybe a little bit more to theme, what do you think of the... Burn. Exactly. What do you think about meeting your idols? Do you believe in the phrase never meet your idols? Or have you had beautiful experiences meeting people that you look up to and...
I think it's about expecting a level of realism.
That's true.
Especially for idols are always. I mean, if they're always public facing, which sounds a bit odd, but I mean, if they're actors or whatever, there is a. And I mean, even us, not that we're anyone's idols, but we talk differently here. We act differently here, slightly differently, because we're no on camera and we're being recorded. So then when you see us somewhere else, I've not got to be well, when people meet us as their idols. But I'm trying to bring it back
That's
home.
what's making me laugh. But I get it.
People
and
forget
also,
that they're real people too.
It's true. And I think one of the things that I always think about with people in classical music or people in music is the schedules are so grueling.
Mad.
They're crazy.
Yeah.
And often if you are coming up to somebody and wanting to meet them, they are so exhausted and they just want to go home.
They're just done,
They've had a difficult day, but particularly with conductors, I think.
Long rehearsals.
You are the person that's managing the orchestra, managing the singers. You're the kind of glue between the people. And that is incredibly taxing emotional work.
Draining.
But also, if you're a good conductor anyway, certainly, these are the things that you have to really think about. Who? Okay.
Tell me.
Well, you had mentioned, and this is definitely an idol for me, that some of the best performances of opera, particularly that I've heard, are Antonio Pappano. And that was somebody that you mentioned to me earlier about.
Yes,
kind
but
of your idols.
It's funny, because my reason for him being an idol isn't actually because he's a conductor.
Really? Well, tell me more then.
It's because, again, growing up, I'd watch on the Royal Opera House YouTube videos, he'd always do these at the piano, playing through the opera that was on currently the season. And the way he sort of spoke about like, oh, this is how Wagner like builds up tension in Rheingold. And the way he play it, and the way he's so like enigmatic on the piano.
Oh yeah,
and he does all this with his hands.
He does, and I think he's really good at explaining things as well.
He was, and I think we're going to go on to some more of mine. But that's I think what is got me excited is that you can see someone so passionate about music and also at the piano as well. We're seeing like how the music's working.
Oh, absolutely.
We're learning like, oh, he's using this chord, or he's built this tune in, or then like he talks about this theme that comes back as he remembers his father that died, that sort of thing. And you're like, oh wow, he's showing us like the inner workings of music and the nuts and the bolts. And then obviously then the video would then cut like or fade into him conducting it and hearing it in the orchestra. You're like, oh yeah. I hear all that. So he was like a showman in that way, or still is a showman.
It's true. And often, like, even if you listen to those before seeing an opera and then you go and see the opera or whatever the work is that he's conducting, you think, oh, yeah, I remember
exactly.
The person similar to you saying that, that I used to watch their videos a lot was Joyce DiDonato.
Yes.
And she...
I just remember her masterclass.
Her masterclasses are so iconic.
They're so funny.
I'm very lucky that I'm going to be working with her in the summer
at
Amiata Music Festival in Tuscany. Oh my God. Everybody come along.
Are they sending us a fee for that advert?
I work there.
Okay, so I could discount 10%.
Doesn't make a difference.
10%?
Anyway, Joyce DiDonato, she did these masterclasses, and she also is so good at breaking something down. There's something about seeing somebody behind the scenes working on something. And I remember one that I watched when I was probably a teenager, and she's she's coaching a singer in Mimi. And she was like, you know, every phrase has to be taken care of because she is going to die of tuberculosis, and so every breath could be her last. You know, you have to care for it. And I think as like a teenager who like romanticized everything and enjoyed like languishing and being
romanticized
dramatic.
Tuberculosis.
I remember like clinging to that description.
Would she be the one that should like hold their hands or like shake them?
I think so. Yeah, I remember some of that, and
it.
You get less of that today. But I mean, it's something you've got. Singing opera is so physical.
Yeah, I was going to say
any kind of instrumental playing is very physical.
It's probably quite a big subject, but I would like to talk about masterclasses at some point because
I think talk a little bit about it now.
Have you ever been in one? Because you've actually properly played an instrument.
Yeah.
I've only watched them, and I've only watched I think 2, and they were both instrumental. And I've also asked people that have done them as well, and I asked them, are they actually useful?
They are, and often if you do a competition, then sometimes I remember like the prize would be a masterclass with somebody, or the prize would be a lesson with somebody. And when I was younger, I had a lot of like taster lessons with people, like individual sessions with people that were kind of like masterclasses, but like one-on-one, I guess. But I've done the masterclass with audience thing as well.
Oh, it's just
it is stressful, and you have to know the piece very well, obviously, because particularly if you're playing from memory and you have to go back to bits.
They're like, go back to this bit.
I remember feeling like I really have to know this piece very well, and because often if you're playing something from memory, you'll have like a marker that you can go from, but you don't want to say to the person leading the masterclass like, can I actually go back to this because that's where I remember it from.
You're flicking through.
Exactly. So I remember that being like stressful, and I think when I was younger, I was so good at memorizing everything.
Really?
Whereas I was terrible at sight reading, and I was so good at I could. The other day, this is like an anecdote of a little snapshot into Jonny in my life. Is Jonny was here, and he was like, "Oh, do you want to do some Schubert? Shall we sight read some Schubert?"
Schubert Lieder, yeah.
And I said, "Yeah, let's go for it." Earl Koenig.
Yeah,
Earl Koenig.
Simple.
Right, okay.
You know, repetitive strain injury, the leader.
Yeah, you're going to have to pay for that. Very fun, but yes. Making me work hard as a sight reader. So thank you for the subtle dig that I'm not good at sight reading, but maybe you've not heard me at my best.
It was me turning the pages and screaming German into your ears.
Yeah, actually. That was a lot. It was lucky that my neighbours have moved out this week. Maybe that was the final straw.
This is slightly relevant, but I used to play the oboe, and by which I mean I bought a cheap one off eBay and tried to play it.
Yeah.
Every time I would practice in my bedroom at home, birds would fly into the window. So it's like the opposite of Snow White. And it happened. I remember it happening, and I was like, "Oh my god, why are birds flying in my window?" And I then eventually realised it was every time I was practicing this oboe.
That is crazy.
Birds were killing themselves.
They were actually killing themselves because the noise.
Because of the sound I was
because
making.
they realised they would never hear anything more beautiful in their lives, so it couldn't go upwards from there.
So I've been asked by the RSPCA. The RSPCA have asked me to stop playing the oboe.
That is so good. I love that story. I'm just imagining bird after bird. Somebody with like
just outside, just on the floor.
That's so
like it's been some horrible storm or like biblical event.
Yes. I remember that it happened once in my house, and then like there was terrible news, and I remember it was like an ill omen that like a bird flew into the window, and then like we got a terrible phone call. That was Johnny was playing the oboe somewhere, somewhere on earth. Johnny was playing the oboe.
I was trying to play C major.
Yeah.
Well, I was playing hot cross buns.
I love that. So your oboe career was
quickly short. I've got another good oboe story.
Please.
The reason, one of the things, again, that orchestra I spoke about earlier, the Medics one. Again, there were so many gaps in the orchestra because you aren't going to just not everyone can play everything. Whatever, you're not going to have 6 horns all the time. We had no oboes, so I had this oboe, and I was like, okay, I'm going to play oboe 2, and I'm going to get a friend that I know who plays oboe, who's very good at oboe. He very kindly came and played for free. He came and played oboe 1 with me.
Yeah.
And I was like, you don't need to come to the rehearsals. It's Mozart. No, yeah, it's Mozart. It was Beethoven Violin Concerto. It's easy stuff. You're going to be fine. Yeah. But I was like, oh, do you mind popping in to Howarth's, which is like the big oboe woodwind shop in London. Do you mind popping to Howarth's, and could you pick me up a reed, please, a double reed? Because I need one for the concert. Because I broke the last one. Because they're quite fragile, as we're going to find out.
Yes.
And so I said, yeah, of course. And so he comes in, and he's like, oh, here it is. It was about like £18, beads are expensive. And I was like, great, thanks. And I'm just fitting it to the top of the oboe, and we're just like about to warm up. He gives the A. I don't know if that's an A. Sorry to our perfect pitch listeners. No, I will not keep trying guessing.
I feel like you got it right.
He gives an A, and then as I go up to tune to his A, I bash this reed into my teeth. And break.
Is that why you have a gap in your teeth? The reed just completely.
The worst thing is,
like Tyra Banks.
I knew
with the hammer and the models.
I knew that was coming.
There we go.
I walked in with open arms.
There we go.
So I bashed it into my teeth, and it went crack. And also, if anyone doesn't know about like double reeds, a single split down the reed, it's not useful. No. Yeah. It cannot be played, or it's really like wispy. Oh, you can't play high notes or whatever. And I look over at my friend, and I go, "Ooh!" And he just looks at me and just like, "Oh, for God's sake!" And he's like, "I've got no more."
No.
So I then proceeded to mime play oboe 2 for an hour and a half concert.
You mime play? I mean, I guess you can't just sit there and not do anything.
No, because that would be silly.
That would be, almost as silly as miming playing the oboe.
So it was just me then him leaning over whenever I had a bit.
So funny. Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's the universe has told me that the oboe isn't for me.
I see. Okay. Yeah. But actually, Johnny, this is not the first time you've broken a musical instrument. Do you remember this?
Please say more.
Well, there was, maybe it's not even true, but there was I was told by somebody at King's that you broke one of the pianos playing Beethoven.
That did not happen.
Really?
I can't play Beethoven.
But I remember that there was a story. I'm going to ask the source to tell me the
source.
The source. It Sean? It was definitely Sean. But that you were playing something like Mozart or Beethoven, like classical, and you were playing it so like with such gusto, you broke the piano.
What do you mean by broke the piano?
Like the notes,
like the string,
the string snapped, or like the hammer. Yeah. So it was something with the hammer or the string.
That may have happened, but I may have blocked it out of my memory.
I feel like it. I feel like I asked you about it at the time, and you said it did happen.
I've blocked a lot of things out. That's a trauma response.
When you were saying that, I was like, is it the oboe's fault? Is it the reed's fault, or is it Jonny Whiting's fault?
What else have I broken?
I don't know, but we just. Ooh, that's Let's go with that.
I'm gonna cut that.
I broke this table. I fell on the table hanging my curtains. broke this table, so we spent before filming this podcast a lot of time gluing the table back together, which was joyous moments spent together.
Don't say we don't put any effort into this.
Exactly, come on. The set is falling apart at the seams.
Blood, sweat and tears.
It is covered. Everything behind the camera is blood, sweat and tears. This is just the small corner without...
I'm gonna yank us straight back into the
Please,
the
yes.
Meeting idols.
Meeting idols, yes.
I have met an idol.
Tell me more.
Stephen Sondheim.
You didn't. You didn't.
Okay, meet is not the right word. I was in the same room as him twice.
Yeah.
Strangely enough, in consecutive days.
Yeah.
But I mean, he was and still has been a massive, massive influence on like composition and just like theatre and stuff that I do. Like honestly, almost anything from like the age of 19, you'll be like, I can see some Sondheim in there, or like from whatever reason.
Yeah.
He was in London for Follies, National Theatre. Must have been like 2019.
Yeah.
And he was doing a like a talk, just like a pre-show talk, or like, it was a talk about the show as well as like an interview. So I was there. It was like it's a big auditorium, so I wasn't like right next to him. He wasn't talking to me, but it was very. It was like that's the only time, or the time I can remember that I've actually felt like starstruck.
Yeah,
when this man I've revered comes out onto stage, and he must have been 90, maybe just 90 or late 80s at that point.
Yeah,
and I think the thing that I really was struck by was that he was so on it. He was
really?
Vivid. If you close your eyes, you'd think I'm talking to a 40-year-old. Like he was so like energized, so quick-witted. I mean, obviously, if he writes music and words like that, you've got to expect it's going to come from somewhere.
I mean, come on, yeah. How old? Because wasn't he like super young when he did the libretto for West Side Story?
Libretto.
Yeah.
It's lyrics.
Lyrics. Okay.
Sorry, it's lyrics in the musical theatre world.
Sorry.
25.
Insane.
I want to say,
like, insane.
Not a bad first gig.
No, not bad.
West
at all.
Side Story.
Yeah, just a little thing.
And then a few years later,
just a little thing I whipped up earlier.
Yeah, and then a few years later,
Story.
he did Gypsy again.
Yeah,
must have still been in his 20s, maybe early 30s. And that doing Gypsy bought the house in Manhattan that he lived in for the rest of his life,
which is insane. But also the lyrics for Gypsy are incredible.
Yes.
Like, I don't know, you do see such a spark of genius there, more than a spark.
I mean, I will go on about Gypsy another time. It's one of the best musicals. If I want people to listen to a musical or see a musical, that I just think it's one of the best because it did so much.
Well, I wonder, because we've spoken about doing like a composer episode in the future. Maybe we could do like a piece episode, like that's kind of really going into a piece.
We could do. The problem with doing a piece episode, and we're now just doing we have got to show a lot of music.
That is that is true. How interesting would it be without the music?
Then
we'll think about it.
I'm already chased by the legal team from all the other people, so I don't want to do any more.
I feel like I also always pick the
the
performances.
Most dubious performances. I've got to cut so to a specific length, so I'm not taken to court.
Exactly. Yeah.
The begging emails I've written.
I will send you a lovely good luck card when you go to court.
You're speaking on my behalf. You're my
or am I testifying against you?
Yeah, you would.
Yeah. Poor Maria Callas didn't deserve Johnny using her. I had nothing to do with it, even though it was my choice.
We put her on the map.
It's just we support indie artists. Yeah.
But anyway, meeting him was lovely.
Yeah,
meeting Sondheim was lovely. Very quick-witted. He's just like, he has a body of a very looked like quite an old, frail man, but was just so like interesting, enigmatic. Although he did, when we were there, he did point out people that were on their phones.
That's so
funny.
By
the way, I can see a few people.
That's
a
Patti LuPone moment
as well. Who do you think you are?
Exactly.
Stopping the show.
I met an idol of mine when I was at Royal Opera House. Actually, I've met two idols there actually in the audience.
Sorry, no, you go.
Shall I go and then please do? But one of them. Have I told my Stephen Huff story here before?
No.
But Stephen Huff here in this room, probably in this room at some point. But my friend Sean and I were in. Where were we? Yes, Royal Opera House, and he was there, and Sean was like, "Oh my gosh, we should go and say something to him." And I was like, "No, we have to leave him alone." And obviously, when I looked around, Sean was there talking to Stephen Huff, and he beckons me over, And we're all chatting to him. He is like one of the most personable people. He is so lovely.
Really? I've never met him.
And he said, what are you guys up to this summer? And I thought, quick, say something that's really going to impress Stephen Huff. And I said, I'm just practicing. And he looked at me and he went, that is so depressing. That is so depressing. And that was the... I'm sure I've told this story before. And that is, you know... Don't just say things to impress people. That was the moment. If I hadn't learned that already before.
So the problem with Don't Meet Your Idols there was you.
Was me, exactly.
Yeah.
He was lovely.
And you,
but yeah,
you tested that loveliness.
Yeah, that was so funny. The other idol that I met at Royal Opera House was Lisette Oropesa, and I was with my friend Shardy, and we went up to her outside, which like really, we were super early, and we were like, we love you. And it was just at the tail end of COVID, and she was singing Gilda and Rigoletto, and she had like a pride mask.
Oh, okay.
And Shardy was like, I love your mask, and she said, gotta represent everybody. And so we love her. Love her. She was really lovely, and she actually was like prepared to chat to us with her husband Stephen, and they were very, very lovely. And so I can attest if she's your idol, go meet her. She's lovely.
All my idols. Another one I've got. I've not had any bad experiences, which I guess is nice.
Yeah,
but I'm not usually the one to go up and do that thing.
Yeah.
But it was at the Gramophone Awards last year, which is where they give out awards to recordings that come out over the year, and I think his won. It was the overall winner. It was a recording of the Flying Dutchman, Wagner, with Gerald Finley.
Yeah.
Gerald Finley was my Figaro. I had the DVD of the 1993 Glyndebourne production, The Marriage of Figaro, with Renee Fleming as the Countess. And it was one of those DVDs that was on both sides. You had to take it out and turn it round, which was old when I had it. Not aging myself, but I wore that that DVD thin, and he was just like my.
That is an iconic recording as well, and
beautiful.
Like the Countess, that is Renee Fleming's role.
Excellent, and he was so good. So I went up to him. He was talking to the editor of the Opera Now magazine I work with, Hattie, and I was a bit drunk.
Yeah.
And he was about to leave, and I was like, Gerald Finley, you are my Figaro.
You're my Figaro.
It's like, no. I can call you Gerald, yeah.
Jerry.
The Glyndebourne 1993, I wore it thin, and he was so touched.
Really?
He was like, not like tearing up. That'd be bigging it up.
That's beautiful.
But he was like, "Oh, thank you so much. Like that was so much fun doing that, and I'm really glad that he was just so sweet.
That's sweet.
Canadian for you. He's very chill.
That's true.
Very chill.
That is true.
And yeah, I don't want to know what I was like or actually what I looked like.
Exactly.
I remember being quite drunk. You Figaro to bando riposo. I didn't try and sing in front of him. Oh my God, don't do that.
Yeah, rate. Can you rate me?
How am I?
Yeah, can we do a quick masterclass? Everybody gather round. I'm going to sing for Gerald Finley.
He asked me.
Nowadays, if you're an influencer, you'd get out your phone and say, get ready with me to sing with...
God.
Come with me to sing with Gerald Finley. Yeah, with the 0.5. Yeah, we see it.
You thought about this?
No, yeah.
As you, Stephen Hoff.
Half, yeah. Half and I puff.
And last, just sort of round this off, although I feel like we could talk about this for hours.
We really can.
Is Leonard Bernstein, which I think is an obvious choice, but maybe solid, not for someone of our age. I think he was dead. He died in 1995? 1990?
Something, definitely 90s.
So he was dead before we were about, but obviously we encountered him through West Side Story and the famous sort of videos of him arguing with the
Jose Carreras,
the West Side Story.
That's actually a really depressing video.
It's
bless him.
But he was. But I think what we didn't realize is that when you were growing up in the 60s, 70s, 80s, the juggernaut of like classical music that was Leonard Bernstein, and that isn't just as he was a conductor, he wrote music, he was a showman.
Oh, absolutely.
He wanted to let everyone know about how amazing classical music is, and how detailed and how cerebral and how just brilliant and amazing it is. He was just like, that was what he, and the charisma that he had is unmatched and hasn't been matched since. What was quite influential, I watched it for my Cambridge interview, his lecture series, is it Yale or Harvard? I can't remember which one. It's called The Unanswered Question. Do you know it?
No, I don't know it.
You might, you'll realise it, or
you'll watch it later.
It's like 5 hours of lectures.
Okay.
It's a filmed lecture from like the 70s. From the 1970s, The Unanswered Question. I think it's The Unanswered Question. I will dub it in if that's wrong. And it's just him. It's filmed. It's like him in a studio with a piano at a desk he likes to lean on in a very casual way, and some students like watching.
Like an early Tiny Desk concert.
Almost. Yeah. But he goes and talks about how like the language of music and how, you know, phrases are like sentences and things like that. He also talks about how like this isn't even musical, but it's like he talks about why in so many languages the word for mum or mother is very similar. It's because as a child the first thing you learn to do with your mouth is just to open it. And if you go mama, you're making the word mama or mother. So that's why there's like this sort of universal nature to language, and I think he talks about this universal nature to music as well. It's quite it's very, despite that sounding a bit sort of like academic, he makes it feel very accessible. And I just think that's such a talent.
It's very true, and I do think that everything I've seen of Bernstein as well, you know, he did a lot of that kind of work with people and kind of getting people engaged in a lot of educational work, which is super important. Have you seen the film?
No, this is why
I have one story I remember of the film is that my friend was singing in the choir.
Which film is this?
The Bernstein film, Maestro. And she was singing in the choir of it, and she said when the camera pans to her, you see her like frantically looking at the real conductor behind Bradley Cooper,
my God,
as you see her eyes going like.
Because that's from when he did. Is it one of the Marlers?
Is it Resurrection? I think
in
that's
Ely Cathedral. Is that where it was?
I probably
the recording.
Yeah. It was this friend.
That's such an iconic.
It is, and like that's image. What when you said about the charisma and you know the way he performed, that is the image I have in my mind of him. You know, giving everything.
He was like, that's what you see when you see a conductor.
But he also was focused because, like, there are other. I saw a video of him recently conducting. I think it was a Haydn symphony, and there's a point when he just completely ceases to do it, or just like
the tiniest
gestures with his eyes as well. You know, these really small things, or with like a kind of gesture of his head. And I think that's, you know, going back to your conductor who was always huffing and puffing.
Stephen Huffing
and Puffing.
That's not
if you're always at full, how do you?
Where's the range?
Where's the fortissimo? You know, where's the climax? Where's the crux of the piece?
Yeah.
And I think that's what Bernstein, you know, he lets loose in that moment of resurrection, and it is completely like, you know, transcendental.
And I think actually, I mean, there's plenty of people that say that his recording of this isn't great, or his recording of that isn't great, and plenty of people have issues with his composition as well. I actually think his compositions are quite hit and miss. Things like West Side Story and Trouble in Tahiti, absolutely amazing. I saw his Symphony No. 2 last week. It's that one with it's got a piano soloist in it, and it's a bit sort of sporadic and sort of he's trying to throw things at the wall and see whatever sticks. But even despite that, it's just the charisma and just the representation and the passion that he had for classical music. He was like, it was to everyone. It felt like anyone could listen to him and be like enthused and excited. And I think that's something we don't have anyone like that at the moment. I don't think, not close.
Or should we ask people to tell us who are their Leonard Bernstein?
Well, actually, that's
who are the people for them?
Who are their idols?
Yeah, exactly.
Who are your idols?
Who are your idols? We need to know.
Don't look at my camera. But yeah, write in and let us know, and we'll get them on the pod.
Yes, we'll get fingers crossed.
Yes,
third microphone first. But we've got big plans for this podcast, so yes.
Oh yes, you wait.
Just you wait. And speaking of recommendations. Should we segue into our regular section of your kind of album of the week?
Of the bi-week. Yes, so...
It's a bit of an odd one.
There's a bit of an odd one in the sense that it's not... It sort of goes into idols as well.
Yeah.
Something as I was growing... Another this is a bit nerdy, but when I was growing up, I loved the film Amadeus, which I feel like everyone
love
into music has seen it, and all the play by Peter Shaffer. And I had it, I remember downloaded on my iPod Touch.
Oh, yes,
and I would watch
days.
it on the school bus.
I watched
it over and over again. But again, what was so integral to this was its soundtrack. Obviously, Mozart pieces and some Salieri, and other things. But it's in the past I've said things like, in the past I mean by years ago, why listen to lots of different versions of the same piece by different different recordings? And it's because they all will sound different, and it's just this. When I listen to the soundtrack for Amadeus, it just makes me think of the film, and it makes me think of Mozart writing these things. So it sort of gives another sort of dimension to it.
Yeah.
And it's they're beautifully recorded and they're beautifully played. I think they're all historic instruments. It's the Academy of St Martin in the Fields, conducted by Sir Neville Mariner. Love. And the piece I'd like to play. I know I'm doing that.
You're doing well, I was bullied for this last time. So, what is the piece that you would like to play?
Well, we're going to send this in to Radio 3 so they can hire us. I'm going to play it's the opening of the film, and it's the first movement of, and it's Beethoven, Mozart's Symphony 25, the one in G minor. Alex, what have you got for us today?
Well, in the spirit of idols, I'm going to preface this album by saying that I am definitely somebody for a Wikipedia deep dive, and this is something. My most used app on my phone is Safari, because I'm always Googling. I'm always Googling, but trust me, this has a point.
I just love Safari.
I love it, and I'm going to a costume party where the theme is divas, and I was going to do something.
No costume required.
Just rock up. I was going to do something kind of Versailles inspired.
Okay.
And I was looking up, deep dive the Revolution, and I was reading all about the Carmelite nuns of Compiègne, the martyrs to the Catholic faith in the times of the Revolution, and their death contributed to the end of the Reign of Terror.
Yeah.
There is a very famous piece about these nuns.
Indeed there is.
Named Dialogue des Carmélites, which was a very kind of personal piece to Poulenc. And a lot of these religious pieces that he wrote are evidence of his conversion back to the Catholic faith after a period of grief. And we are very lucky that we can listen to, very accessibly, the first French cast. What's interesting about this piece, and what Poulenc wanted for this piece, was that it would always be performed in the language of where it was being played.
Love
and
that.
so the first performance at La Scala was in Italian,
Love
with
it.
Virginia Zeani as Sœur Blanche. And this performance that I wanted to play an extract from includes the wonderful Denise Duval as Sœur Blanche de la Force, or Sœur Blanche de l'Agonie du Christ, which is the name that she chooses for herself.
Interesting.
Agony of Christ. And the little extract that I want to play is the Ave Maria. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. We appreciate every stream, every way that you're all engaging. Thank you. Every comment. Our hot takes were hot.
Spicy.
They were spicy, and we appreciated everybody who came back to us with counter thoughts, agreeing, everything. So more of that, please. More
I was
thoughts.
called lots of things.
Yes. What was it? There was one that was a real standout for me. Was it... immature unmusicianly, and there was a third adjective.
Someone said my moustache was silly. I already know it's silly.
I think it's majestic.
Well, thank you.
Comment if you agree.
See, I got a lot of abuse, but that's part of the life,
It's part of being everyone's idol, Jonny, as you were saying earlier. If you see us in the streets,
don't look at us.
We might not be looking as good as we.
You don't want to meet these idols.
Actually, we're probably looking better because the lighting is so harsh.
Yeah.
But
I'll tell the lighting designer.
Yeah, you.
Yeah.
I just did. Anyway.
Right. We've got to end this.
We've got to end this somehow. Tune back in next time. Thank you so much, and we'll see you soon.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.